Hello and welcome to another episode of our educational piece. Now, today we are going to talk about infrastructure spending. One beanie. It's a bit cold here in Melbourne, and I wanted to put something on my head because I'm a bit freezing at the moment. Working from home, the beauty of COVID. Anyway, let's get into it. So, infrastructure spending. This is something that is probably one of the most crucial parts when looking into an investment property or location. Now, you want to understand what is happening in a market, what infrastructure projects are getting put into a particular market, and why they're doing this. Now, you want to be looking at, your federal government reports, your state government reports, and your local government reports. And local government reports is very crucial. That's your councils. Now, they're predicting and wanting to achieve a certain population achievement, or they're wanting to improve the quality of of this location and make it green or user friendly or green. Help the economy. Help things by implementing certain parks and certain different environments, culture friendly, something that's going to help change the demographic of people, gentrification. So these things is something that you got to look out for. As well, what other projects are going in there? So I have a list of things that we typically look out for. So you got your new hospitals or hospital upgrades, schools, connecting rail lines, bridges, airports or ports, where they're doing development on ports, which is super crucial and something that we forget about. Renewable energy farms, solar farms, battery farms. You're looking at your, defense force upgrades, logistic companies, manufacturing companies. There's a whole bunch of things that we want to be looking out for because this is what's going to influence the market. Now, we want to as well look at like universities, of course, which is under schools, which comes under schools and etc. And anything that is going to influence the market, new stadiums and, park upgrades and, all these different types of changes happening in a market. Now, don't get misled with roads and bridges and tunnels, which a tunnel or a road can have some sort of an effect because maybe they're doing it, they're changing a highway. Let's just say from the Sunshine Coast, from Brisbane to the Sunshine Coast, a few years back, they, started changing the freeway. Now, the Sunshine Coast today in 2020, you start to see that, people are investing there. It's a hot spot, which you should have been there a bit before that because there's a lot of indicators. They started doing the Bruce Highway and started extending that instead of having your one or two lanes, each side. They started making it 3 lanes or 4 lanes, and they're extending it. And that Bruce Highway starts from Brisbane and it goes all the way to Cairns. And you can start to see they're implementing and changing that whole road. And why are they changing that road? Why? Is it because people are moving there? Is it because people are traveling a lot? And it's because there's a lot of people moving to these locations and, the population is growing. So these are signs to look out for. Even railway lines. It can be misleading in some places. You might say a new rail line get put in. Now, you keep your eyes on some markets, but it won't have a massive impact because it might have an impact down the track. But you've got to keep in mind how many people use the railway line or the train to go to work or go to school, etc. And that's something you can look at ABS data to understand, okay, there's not many people. They put this new railway line in this certain town. At the moment, this town doesn't look like it's something starting to happen, but it's slowly some things are, getting implemented. And we can start to make, you start to make an informed decision. Start looking at other different areas and, your other fundamentals like your stock on market days or market vacancy rates, etc., which I'll talk on more about in other videos. So, your hospitals, your schools, your airports, your ports, your renewable energy, your defense force, this money getting spent on certain industries are going to have a massive effect because there's jobs creation. When they're pumping these sort of jobs, these sort of industries or these improvements, there's going to be an expansion of jobs, and which is going to bring more people there because of desirability, because of opportunity, and people are going to move to these locations. Some people might go, oh, who wants to live there? No one wants to live there. Or, I wouldn't buy an investment property there because, it's because you wouldn't live there. But we've got to look at it from, there's 25 million people that live in Australia, and everyone's got a different mind and a different way of or what they want, or a different, what appeals to them. So you got to understand there's a market for every single person on this planet. So understanding this part of, your infrastructure spending is super crucial. One of the things you have to understand and look deeply into this. And this can come through as well. You're looking at, your news reports. You're looking at what's online and understanding what's happening. We're looking at Brisbane at the moment. It's going to have the Olympic Games. And that's something that is super, super impactful for Brisbane down the track. But it doesn't mean all of Brisbane is going to be booming. There's going to be certain pockets that won't boom as much as certain pockets. So this is where you make your analysis and understand what's happening in these markets. So hopefully you got a lot from this. This is one of the main things we want to start looking at when we're looking into a market. It's probably the very first thing. You got to look at this like a bird's eye view. You go on top of a location, you're staring down on it, and you're looking at it and you're saying, what's happening here? What's going on? You don't want to start looking at your vacancy rates, your stock on markets, and properties, and if your median house price is rising or dropping. This is one of the main things you want to start looking at, because you got to understand, like, there's your Melbournes and your Sydneys and your Brisbanes. There's places there that are unaffordable. You can't get into those markets. They're just so expensive. So how can we get in there from signs of what's happening at the moment with infrastructure project? How can we get in there before at the bottom of the wave and ride that wave up for capital growth? And that's what happens. That's what happens with a lot of these markets that start from inside the CBD and then expand. And then you start to see projects happen, like shopping centers, etc. And that's something that we got to add to this list. This list is so long that nothing will fit on this page. But you got to look at things. You got to look at your shopping centers. You got to look at stadiums, which are super crucial. Arts centers, rivers, if there's rivers development or extensions or lakes, or something with the parks. Multiple parks and changing of demographics of people, and like massive skyscrapers, or or certain apartment building complexes in certain locations that probably haven't had those sort of buildings in there before. That's a sign of desirability, and those infrastructure projects have a massive effect on the market. So this is something that you got to first look at. It doesn't matter what you're looking at, any location, you got to first understand this fundamentals, and you want to get in there before everyone else is getting in there, and it's going to help you ride that wave. And with the amount of money getting spent in certain locations at the moment, those locations are going to be desirable locations for 5 to 10 years or even more, because if a lot of these projects here don't take 1 or 2 years to complete. There's some places that we're looking at, there's a hospital upgrade, it's a 4 or 5 year project. And that's showing that in 5 years, they're expecting to have a certain population, there's desirability there, it's the second hospital. So what's happening in this location? See, there's a lot of things that start unraveling when you start asking a lot of questions, understanding, okay, what's going on here? And a lot of these things, which we'll be talking in our educational piece, every single one of them link up with each other, as you will see as we go on. So thank you for watching this video, and there's more to come.